If clients would only follow the plan that I gave them, they would get the results they wanted. Dr. J, have you ever heard anybody say that?
Oh, yes. It's the fun thing about going to conferences and being able to talk to a bunch of coaches. We hear things, I need more leads, and then the other one is always about client compliance, and if they would just do it.
So if you want to find out the secret to improving client compliance, stick with this episode.
Welcome to Becoming the Ultimate Fitness Coach with the Jock and the Doc podcast, where fitness meets behavioral science. Join your hosts, Scott Schutte, a seasoned personal trainer, gym owner, and 360 wellness coach, and Dr. Janine Steester, a PhD behaviorist and expert in all things behavior change, as they share their combined expertise to empower fitness professionals like you with practical tips, cutting-edge topics, and industry-leading guests. You'll learn everything from motivation and goal setting to habit formation and overcoming obstacles. Whether you're a seasoned fitness pro or just starting off your coaching journey, Becoming the Ultimate Fitness Coach is your essential guide to mastering the art of coaching and changing lives.
Welcome to our show, and we are diving into client compliance. So, Dr. J, break us down to us. What is the number one thing trainers can be doing to improve client compliance?
Love this question. Creating a separate space and a separate time to have the conversations that you're already having around nutrition, what's going on in the other 23 hours of the day, or when they're not in the gym. So, and this happens for several reasons, and I'm super bullish about this because we know that when people are using a lot of motoric movement, they're processing all of these things on the training floor. They're trying to figure out how to use equipment. They're trying to figure out how to regulate their breathing. They don't want to look stupid, all of those types of things. It's a lot of cognitive bandwidth. So if at the same time they're asking you questions or you're having conversations about their nutrition, about how much movement they should get when they're at home, and all of those types of things, and the different diet that their sister's on and should they be doing it, and all of those facets, they're trying to have these conversations, but they're not recalling correctly. There's other people around, so I'm sharing, but I'm not really sharing.
For sure.
And then by the end of it, you've given some recommendations. I'm the client. I walk away. I'm still trying to catch my breath, sweating. And then next week when I see you, if you even remember what we talked about, I'm embarrassed because I didn't remember half of it, or I remembered it incorrectly. And then we just create this self-esteem, doesn't get anything done. And it feels like you've spent a lot of time talking to this client about things that they could do, and they keep coming back without it.
Yeah, and this is tough for coaches because I've been there. I'm still there. And clients are asking questions. They're like, whoa, should I be doing intermittent fasting? Or what about this type of protein? Or all these different questions in between exercises that we're doing on the floor. And we want to be the go-to person. We want to be the person answering the questions. The problem is we're going to be giving them advice. Most of the time, they're not going to remember. This is what Dr. J is breaking down. So even if we are giving them the best advice that they could be getting on that particular subject, but they can't remember it, it does not matter. And so that's why that we're really bullish on creating this separate time and space to have these type of conversations.
And actually too, if they can't remember what you suggested, they're also probably not remembering all the details you need to have a really good suggestion. So it might be more generic, or it might just really be based on false information. Not intentional, but it's just, I mean, who remembers exactly what they ate last weekend while they're trying to do complex motor movements and sweating their butts off?
For example, one of my guys, and I've been training for a little while, he came to me, he's like, I got a little bit extra right here. Can we add some extra core exercises to do this? And I'm sure all of you guys have the same thought of like, well, the core exercises isn't going to help you lose body fat. We need to get into more things, what you're doing nutrition-wise, all these different things. That's not the right time and place to have that conversation because we're in the middle of a workout. So I'm like, hey, let's set up a time. And we call those 360 wellness coaching sessions. So it's just a 15-minute session that we have a room. Sometimes I'm doing it over the phone if we can't fit in schedule-wise, where we can dive into that. Because typically, for me to give good answers, I have to ask several more questions. Yep. One, we need to get very particular in what the goal is.
Exactly.
So many times we're making assumptions like, oh, it's just some body fat, just losing here. Well, just eat less or stop drinking so much. It's some blatant, big picture advice. But if we can dive deep into all these different things, we can figure out what's the best solution for that person. Just giving generic advice is not great advice. and I'm sure you've seen this, our clients see this,
Yeah.
we need to get very specific. And to get very specific, we need to have the time and place to dive into like their personality, their lifestyle, their environment, and that is done off the floor.
Yeah. And this 15-minute thing, it's not a marketing like, oh, 15 minutes, we can do this. It's not chosen for that. It's done because psychologically, people can only handle so much information, and you got to focus on some small, manageable steps and then build those up. So if we're talking for 30 minutes to an hour, number one, we've all been in those conversations, and you end up just circling around the same things, or you start anticipating what each other's going to say, and then it just goes off on a tangent. It's just like going to the doctor or having a visit is if I know I have 15 minutes, I'm going to plan for that. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to come with a more accurate recall of what I ate if I know that that's what we're going to talk about. I might have a mental list or written list of questions that I want to ask you and make sure I don't forget. And you're going to be able to, like you said, ask those questions, have some follow-up, and have some clear things that also you can send them a note or communicate back and forth that's accurate about what you meant in that 15 minutes. But it's just really important to think about this because I know people are worried about not becoming a therapist, not having extensive conversations. And it is easy to do on the training floor in the sense of, because that way you don't get caught in the hall on the way to the bathroom and then it's like another 30-minute conversation you're trying to get. So I get the appeal, but having that separate, it's just 15 minutes. And like you said, it's easy to fit in that schedule.
The other thing that's important with this is we're not just telling you to like, we'll just give 15 minutes away because
No,
you're busy.
exactly.
And you should be compensated well for your time. And so by creating the service and giving top tier advice, you should be able to charge much more than you are for your one-on-one personal training or for your small group training, whatever you're charging for, because this is so unique. Very few people in the world can set up this service and teach it and create it at such a high level. And so by us creating that time, it's something you should be well compensated for. So we set it up a few different ways at the gyms that we talk to in my facility. Either one, it's just part of the membership price. Like they're already paying for that, so they get one on a monthly basis.
And I love that because it's built in. They're expecting it. It's just part of. So even at a minimum, when that's possible, I just love that because psychologically, it's like I know to expect it every month, and you're not pushing and pulling with your client as much.
Well, and the other reason too, it starts to set the stage of what's important. If someone's coming to you for weight loss, body fat, health, and all we're doing is showing them a workout, they're going to start thinking that's the only thing that's important. But if we're like, hey, listen, and this is a big thing from our beginning sales process, what we're doing on the training floor is going to help you get stronger. It's going to help you put on some muscle. It's going to help correct some imbalances. It's going to increase the physical things you can do outside the gym, which are all amazing and I love, and I think it needs to be a part of people's lifestyle. But you're coming in here for weight loss, fat loss, improved health. A lot of that's done outside the gym. We need to look at your nutrition, we need to look at your sleep, we need to look at your stress management, we need to look at your supplements, we need to look at all these different things. And that's why we have these times where we can dive into that. And then between, sessions, whether that's weekly or monthly, we can give you 1 to 3 things top that we're going to work on. And it's going to be based off of your personality, your lifestyle, and your environment.
Yeah, and it's helping dispel some of the myths too, right? Because you see people, and when I see it all the time in the tracking devices, right, is I'm going to outmove my diet. I'm going to out-exercise my diet and I'm trying to lose weight. And then they're feeling frustrated because the needle's not moving because it's this constant as opposed to changing just some small things in that lifestyle. But if we're not prioritizing it, if we're not separating, it does just feel like the more workout I do, all of my health and wellness goals are going to be hit.
Yeah, so as we start to kind of wrap things up here, I want you to think about how you're currently doing this process with clients. And all the times people are asking you for your stuff. How do you fit this in your model? How do you price it? How do you execute it? In the sense of like, okay, well, I don't have a room that I can have these conversations because ideally we have these private without people around so people can really open up and say what's going on. And so how does this fit into your model? How do you price it? And then how do you start having these conversations with clients on how to execute that? Because you need to start planting the seed of like, listen, you've been struggling with this for a while. And although on the training floor, like I can reinforce some of the things that we've talked about, if we want to dive deep and is changing some of these, habits, that's such a strong word now, some of these behavior things that we're doing that we want to become habits, if we want to change some of those things so you can get those outcomes you want, we need to really sit down and dive deep into that and figure out how that works for you.
Yeah. And From our own lenses, just think about it. Like the things that you put in your calendar, the things that you spend time on in your life, those typically are your priorities. And so if we're not designating a separate time to really talk about these things, we're not psychologically connecting this as a priority. And that's really what we want to do. Clients want these results. They need it. Our societal stats are telling us we definitely need to be figuring this out a little bit better. And people are overwhelmed by all the information, all the different providers, all the different possibilities. So if you can be their fitness guide that really can talk about a lot of these things in an efficient and effective way, because they're busy too, they're just gonna love you forever. So if you're interested in looking at how you can integrate 360 Wellness seamlessly into your coaching programs, go to our website, healthybehaviorinstitute.com, and you can see how you can make not only a greater impact with your clients, but also more income.
See you next time.